Yeah, I think let's get things going and see how the morning rolls.
So Oscar's just sent me a message on Facebook. I'm just going to go over there and pick him out. Yep.
All right. Well, anyway, I think we must carry on anyway. Yeah. Morning, Sarah.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to have you all together. We had a really interesting discussion yesterday looking at or thinking about respect and what does it mean to respect someone else, and where does it start? Does it start with us? Must it start with us? And out of that discussion, I think I certainly felt like there were some questions that came up, and I put those questions into a slide deck. So this is what I'm going to be sharing with you now. And first of all, just to highlight that the questions themselves are something that really occupies the brain. Our brain responds to questions. It's basically how we're wired. That when our sort of prefrontal cortex picks up on a question, it creates a whole trigger effect that ensures that we pay attention to what that question is inviting us. And so we mull over it until we start coming up with some ideas and answers. And that's really what this platform is about, is given that thinking process, try it out in the company of others to see what others think, so that it continues to grow and build your thinking. So again, this just emphasizes that successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. So one of the first questions, and Guy, you spoke yesterday about, can we focus a little bit more on ego? So this question here, is ego a matter of self-respect or selfishness, of confidence or arrogance? So I'll throw that open to everyone just to give their idea and opinion about it.
Great, thanks, Lee. And I see Oscar's on board. Good morning, Oscar. Welcome. Glad you could join us.
I think at the link now. That grey-haired moustache person left centre too late.
Hey, Oscar, how you doing, man?
Very well, very well. Can't complain.
Good. Listen, I'm gonna leave this to Lee because she's driving it, so she'll just repeat what it's about. We stick to 35 minutes here. So Lee, if you just want to repeat what you were asking on this particular slide, please.
So we're mulling over what it means to respect, and yesterday we spoke about that if we're going to respect others, it has to start with ourselves. And the question of ego, and where does ego come into the matter of respecting ourselves and respecting others? Does ego get in the way so that we overemphasize ourselves in regard to others? Or is it something that we need to enhance and build so that we build a greater sense of self-respect that ensures that the respect that I give myself is something that I am giving to others? So this question here, is ego a matter of self-respect or selfishness, of confidence or arrogance? Is the question that we're mulling over right now, and just asking people to share their insights.
So if I can come on board here now, Oscar knows exactly why I invited him to this little session, because I remember him as a youngster. Oscar, what you're a generation behind me, 7, 8 odd years. And I saw you growing up in the surf with your old man, then getting involved with us at Pinetown Water Polo and Tel Water Polo and all those sort of things as I was starting to retire in the late 70s, early 80s. And I saw this young, brash kid who, from our perspective, a lot of people who didn't know who he was thought he was full of tripe, that he had an ego bigger than his little persona, and he seemed to totally lack respect of his elders and all that sort of thing. But we all knew how much work he was putting in, and we knew what this boy was doing in the background, and he annihilated all of his competition. And I just wanted you to share your thoughts from those early days related to the question that Lee is asking here. This thing about ego and attitude, and respect for others and humility. How does a world champ think about those things from his younger days, if you wouldn't mind sharing, Oscar?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the whole thing you got to understand is that most people grow in stature as they go along, and it was very difficult. Remember, Trevor, at age 14, I was the top paddler in the world at age 14. Now, that is a difficult thing to handle, and in fact, I never forget, and Trevor will remember this one day when somebody said, "Hey, well done, Oscar, I see you won junior and senior Ironman." And I just, like, not out of arrogance, I just sort of fobbed them off. And it was Brian Patterson, remember Teddy Bear?
Yep.
Brian Patterson said, "Hey, no, Oscar, you mustn't just say that, this is a big thing that you've done. You must actually acknowledge what you've done, and you must say thanks to the people when they say well done." For me, it was just like, that's all the effort I've been putting into it. That's all the training I've been done, and I expect that to happen. This is when I start a race, when I start anything I want to do, I want to be the best. And again, it depends how it comes across, and I think that's where the big thing about the press and your friends, because a person like Trevor would have known that he knew that when I swam there, I was wanting to beat everybody in the swimming pool, score more goals than everybody, train harder than everybody, and then other people that
which he didn't do. I just want to tell everyone he did not score more goals than everybody. There were one or two that were ahead of him. But anyway, go ahead, Oscar.
So what I'm saying is that the people, they paint this picture of you before they've even met you, before they've even known about you, and that's something that you have to sort of break down over the years, So at age 14, obviously I was fairly arrogant, but it wasn't really. I was never. To me, I never thought I was arrogant, because I was like a normal guy, and I stayed a normal guy all my life. The only difference is that I achieved so much at a young age. I had to learn how to live with that, and learn how to take. Many people, as I say, even to this day, there's probably so many people that don't like me because I'm too successful, and the tall poppy syndrome is a problem. So that also goes hand in hand with the arrogance and confidence. I'd rather be arrogant and confidence, and as opposed to always saying, "Oh, that guy's so lucky he had this, and that guy's so lucky at that, and he's just lucky." And it's all, again, because people haven't got the confidence, and I think, and it's such a fine line between confidence and arrogance. That's why it's a really good question, and I think it takes. It's the people that really know you that you're just more confident than more people, and the more confident you are, the better you are. I mean, it's when I'm teaching. I mean, one of my most important things, I said, the more confidence you get, the more relaxed you feel, the better you feel, the more you achieve. And it's funny, and I think the whole thing is with arrogance. Arrogance comes from people that actually haven't achieved. That's what I find. The people that are just not quite there, And so arrogance. And you can see those people that think they're that good, and they think, and the only way to think you're good, and if you haven't got results, is to be arrogant, So that's why, and my results over the last 35 years have been there. So they can't say, "Oh no." So it's more.
So, Oscar, for those people that don't know you personally, just take us through some of your achievements from that 14-year-old kid that won these particular championships. And over the years, you're how old now?
I'm 57 years old now. So my big thing was I won junior and senior Ironman, the first person in the world to do it. And then I won it in South Africa. And then the big competition was from Australia. A guy, Grant Kenny from Australia, is a guy I had a race. So in 1983, when I was 20 years old, there was a world championship race in Hawaii called the Molokai, 52-kilometer open crossing. So I won the junior and senior Ironman in South Africa at age 15, and Grant Kenny won the junior and senior Ironman in Australia 1 month later. But he became very famous, and maybe he was more arrogant and more common, but he became very famous and very rich in Australia. So because of apartheid, I couldn't race him. But in 1983, I had an opportunity to race him in this World Championship. He'd won it 4 years in a row, the World Championships. I managed to beat him. I beat him 7 years in a row. So I won the World Championship 7 years in a row from 1983 to 1990. Then I was banned again. I was banned because of apartheid. Came back and reared his ugly head. They said, no, you're training in South Africa. We're banning you. They banned me. Then I won in my 40s, and then I won another 5 World Championships. My last one being at 49. So I won at 20 and at 49. And again, along the way, beating guys like Matthew Bowman, Olympic gold medalists. So again, at 49, nobody's heard of anybody winning at that age. And I've been winning, and my last win was at age 56. And that was against the current world European surf ski champion at 56 in a race in Guadeloupe. I won that about 3 minutes against a youngster. So my longevity has been there, and again, and the way I've done it. And again, even to this day, people think, oh, no, gee, Oscar's so arrogant. But again, once the people get to know you, they realize he's not arrogant. This guy does the work, does the training, does the technique, and makes it so that he's fairly confident. When he goes to a race, even at this age, I'm thinking I'm going to win, even if the next guy is 21 or 22 years old and I'm 56. So that's where I think it comes. And that's the big debate is maybe it's the wrong word, it's maybe confidence and arrogance should be the same but as I said, the arrogance part comes from people that don't achieve, that nearly make it. And then you can see those guys are fairly arrogant.
So Oscar, what I'm going to tell everyone here, and you can confirm it for me from your perspective or not, but I think we are looking at one of the world's top sportsmen. I don't know where you are in terms of Laureus ratings and that sort of thing, but certainly one of South Africa's top sporting achievers, on a par with Bruce Fordyce on the Comrades. Way ahead of any of the Test rugby and cricket players. Where would you rate yourself in worldwide terms across all sporting grades? How's that for a difficult question to ask of a 15?
It's a difficult one because, as I say, to just give you a background, that I played for Natal Rugby, and then I played SA water polo, and then I swam and tennis and bodyboard. I was South African bodyboard champ. And then I was a lifesaver and a canoeist and a surf ski paddler. And then the big differences between me and most other sportsmen around the world is that I always was a team man, always gave everything for the team, which is important. That's why I loved my water polo. It was one of my big passions. And my rugby, when I played it for Natal. I didn't play for South Africa because they gave it up. I didn't really enjoy the sport. I enjoyed the team and effort and the camaraderie. That was the fun part of it. And then, again, nobody has stood the test of time. The Grant Kenny that I raced, he won 5 world championships. I've won 12. So nobody has won any world title at past 48. I think 47 is the oldest world champion, a guy called the one boxer, the big fat boxer. He won at age 47. So I'm winning at age 49. I was very healthy and fun until the cancer grabbed me, but that doesn't matter. So you just carry on going. So amongst world, when I'm doing podcasts around the world, most people still rate me as the top paddler in the world and one of the top South African sportsmen in the world, because I've been there. I was in the era of Clive Rice. I was doing, and Clive Rice is old. It was in the era of Vincent van der Bijl, Barry Richards. Long way back. And then the rugby players, Leon Klassen, I was playing with him. So because I did everything at young. So I was the youngest person at 14 to make a senior national team at 14. So I had that, and then I was still making senior national teams at 50. So that longevity and that sustainability is something that most people would love to have, and then have be nice and healthy and go through life with a balanced life, and that's also important. I'm still married to my wife and been with my wife for 37 years, married for 32 years, so that's also part of it. 2 children, doing successful things. Son on becoming a skipper on one of the big boats, who's 28, and my daughter Hannah, who works in London for an Airbnb company. So I think the whole thing is, again, it becomes the balance of life, balance of getting everything together, not only just being a sportsman, and then obviously the next thing, which is because I was a Mickey Mouse sport, there's not much money in it. I also was in business. I started a company called Citadel, which is a big financial services company. I was a founder of that company, which is a multi-billionaire company. I basically sort of retired at 35. My wife put me back by 36, spent too much for me. And then I've started another big kayaking company in America called Epic Kayaks. I sold out of that. Then I started Nilo Surfski, and I've got another company in South Africa called New Mobile Technology, which again will be a fairly big company again. So I've balanced everything, which is very much different to most people. Most people are either sportsmen, or they become a commentator, or they become a businessman. So to mix all these three together over such a long time, you have to have a good balance. And again, you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself to do it. And of course, there's plenty of failures along the way. Don't want to mention those too often.
Thanks. Trevor?
Lee, I see you've unmuted yourself. Yes, Ivan, I'm going to mute it.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by what Oscar's saying, and it just reminds me of a quote from Muhammad Ali. He, of course, was one of the sportsmen who was accused more probably than any other sportsman of being arrogant. And his response to that was, it's only arrogance if it's not true. And he proved himself over and over again that what he said he was going to do, he did. So that really echoes what Oscar is saying. I would like to just pause just for another sort of minute or two. Is there anybody else that would like to just make a comment, either on what Oscar's been saying or on this particular question here?
Thanks, Lee. I think Herman is looking to chip in. So Herman, if you want to pick it up there.
Thank you very much. What I hear from Oscar is one thing which I think we all should really use as our motto, which is passion. Do what you love. And I think that's what that man has been doing, and is an example of a life full of passion. Going over to two comments, one with regards to questions. Yes, asking questions are important, and it's I think you said successful people ask the right questions, but there are also, of course, a lot of wrong questions we can ask, namely just many people ask questions just to confirm what they believe is right, or etc. With regard to ego, ego is actually something very, very neutral. It just means I in Latin. And I remember Ian a couple of times in earlier conversations to referring to ego in some kind of negative context. And I think ego is what we personally make out of it. If I approach something with confidence, with compassion, humility, and self-respect, there's nothing negative connected to ego. If I do it with arrogance, obviously it can become, or it is very, very negative. Thanks.
Thanks, Herman. Cecile, I think you were also looking to add something in there. Cecile, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. No, I didn't want to add anything else. I'm listening with groot ore.
Okay, great, thanks. So let's just run quickly through the list then. Devin, do you want to comment on what you heard so far?
No, just first.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, from my side, just listening to Oscar, it's really important to hear from people like this, and I don't think South Africa capitalizes on its successes on the field and off the field, and it's really someone mentioned just now passion. So for me, I just made a few notes. It was really about self-belief, and that that confidence that can sometimes be construed as arrogancy. But you need to have that self-belief. You need to have that passion, and not everybody achieves on and off the field. It's very easy to often achieve in the short term, but what Oscar's done in the long term needs to be celebrated. And as Oscar also said, that there are many other stories that South Africa has, and I think somehow we need to keep reminding ourselves and listening to these guys like this, especially today, and what we're going through as a country and in the world. That's me.
Great, thanks, thanks, Devin. And now for the Devin with the G in front, Gavin.
Thanks. Confusing when someone's name's so close to yours. No, absolutely loved what Oscar said. I mean, congratulations, well done, and keep it up. See if you can be the first 80-year-old to break some sort of record.
Great, thanks, Gavin. Guy, do you want to comment?
Yeah, firstly, Oscar, thanks for your time today. I personally really enjoyed. I just made a few notes. When you get results, you said then people think you're arrogant. But what people need to do is actually get to know the person, and you mentioned that. From a distance or in a crowd, people might think you're arrogant, but once you start talking and having a conversation with the person on a one-on-one or in a small group setting, you start to understand the person. And I enjoyed what you said about being a team player. That's always in question. And just a personal note that, because we're all in the same sort of age group, when I'm in front of a group presenting, I go through three things with them right at the beginning. And I say, I'm not into egos, because if you follow Wayne Dyer, ego means edging God out. And I'm not into arrogance, but I'm into total confidence. And I say, I'm standing before you to give you information, and I'm just totally confident in what I'm going to be talking about to you today. So, Oscar, it's very inspiring to actually get your insights at my age also. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Guy. Trevor?
I just want to set the record straight. Oscar will only be the second 80-year-old to win some major races, and Oscar can clear that story up. Just mention what Paul has done.
Yeah, so my father has already he's 82 and he's paddling every day, running every day, cycling every day. Even now, because in his village, it's like a retirement village. No, it's not an old age village because he's not that old. I mean, he's doing everything that 21-year-olds would love to do, and he's still racing. And he raced in a race, the doctor, but just before I got diagnosed with my tumor on my spine, he raced that same race in Australia with another South African, George Green. They paddled from Rockness Island to Perth. It's called the doctor race, and he did pretty well at 82, obviously being the oldest person, but he loves his paddling. He's still passionate about it, does it all the time, and that's what keeps you young. It's another important thing.
And for Herman, where did Paul originate from? Oscar?
Oh, yeah, Herman, my brother's name is Herman, and he's come aus München. Nein, nicht an Mannheim, ich komme aus München.
Great, thanks. Ian, you want to comment on what you've heard so far?
Yeah, just very interesting to listen to Oscar. I mean, I remember living in Durban in the 70s and the 80s, and particularly, obviously, Oscar was a name that everybody heard and knew about. You're absolutely right. I think Oscar mentioned the confidence and arrogance or ego, and confidence comes from achieving and arrogance comes from not achieving. I think that's really a very good point. And I watch a lot of tennis, and you see some of the guys like Kyrgios and some of the guys who kind of drive you mad, but you know what pumps those guys up and gets them to the end there is not arrogance, it's confidence, and it's just their way of dealing with their certain aspects of when they have a bad day or lose a game. So we often mistake that for ego and arrogance, but in fact that's confidence built up and just the way they manage things through their game.
Right, thanks, Ian. I see we've got Mr. Nick Pappas on board this morning. Nick, your first time on board. What are your thoughts? Nick, are you with us? You need to unmute yourself if you want to comment, but if you don't, we can move on.
Move on, Ivan.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So Nick seems to be not there. Sarah, good morning to you. I think it's your second time on board. I think it's be interesting to hear what your thoughts are. You're probably a completely different generation, despite what Guy was saying earlier, us all being the same age. I think you're one of the youngsters on board. So
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah. Hi, morning, Ivan and everyone. Wow. I come on board when I think Oscar was just starting out his story. Wow, what an inspiration. Actually, I was just listening and looking at the video, and I thought that's a nice picture he's got behind there. But then I'm looking at those trees moving and the ocean moving. I'm thinking, no, that's not a picture. It's actually by the beach, But yeah, just very inspired. Thank you for sharing that. It's always just so inspiring for people as young as myself to hear and see people that have broken boundaries and lived the life, and people that you can look at and say it is possible. My brief comment on the issue of ego and confidence, and I think what Lee shared, in fact, when she was talking about the quote from Muhammad Ali, where it says it's only arrogance if it's not true. That for me just summarized my view, because when I came on board and you were putting the question, Lee, on ego, I thought, oh no, I don't want to have a discussion about ego. My own ego has caused the downfall of my life many times, but just learning that confidence and knowing the difference for me, that confidence is really, you're confident because it's true, it's who you are, you've embraced what you are, you've embraced what you've been given, and the hard work that you've put into what you've been given to steward the gift, to steward the talent or the skill, and it is what it is. There's no overestimation or an underestimation of yourself. But arrogance really comes from a place where there is inferiority, there is an unsureness in your heart, and therefore you overcompensate in some way to try and prove something that you're not. And yeah, so thank you. Wow, I really feel very inspired by what I've heard so far. Thanks, Ivan.
Something that I might add, interesting. Everybody knows the Doozy Canoe Marathon, which is like the Comrades, and I started a thing where I paddled with the top celebrities at the time. And the first celebrity I took down was Naas Botha, so at his prime. So I took down Naas Botha, I took down Clive Barker, I took down Peggy Sue Khumalo, I took down Dr. Khumalo, I took down Baby Jake Mutlatla, I took, I always forget her name, Unati from Idols. I took down Sibusiso Valani, the first black man to climb Mount Everest. So that gives you a big overforded view of what these top people's confidence and their makeup is. It's very interesting that you came to a guy like Naas Botha was driven to do well. Then you came a guy, Clive Barker. He was exactly like he is, like a coach, really nice and calm, confident and calm, not out there. And I think that's the difference. Some people are out there with their confidence. Some people are very reserved with their confidence. And there was Clive, and he wasn't young, and I took him down the Doozy. He loved it. And then you came with a guy like Dr. Khumalo, was in his prime, he spent most of his time on his cell phone, and my wife will tell you at least 5-6 hours a day on his cell phone. Came across confident, but wasn't actually confident. He was so nervous, it was unbelievable doing this Doozy Canoe Marathon. And again, he was a little bit arrogant because again, he didn't have the confidence. So he came across arrogant, but again, different kind of guy. And then you had Baby Jake, who was the fun-loving guy, small guy, dynamite, and bless his soul, he died a few years ago, and now he's a good friend of mine. And the difference of all these different people, and they've all achieved, so they've all got the passion, they've all got the confidence, but it gets displayed differently. And I think that's the difference between most people. Some people come across too confident, and that is the detriment. So I think it was interesting doing with these. And then you had Onati said, when she finished the doozy, she said, "You changed my life forever." So, that's what happens, and that's what you can do for people. If you display the confidence and you give them confidence, they get confidence. And I think that's important for confident people to help other people to get their confidence higher. Just on a
Right,
part.
thanks, Oscar. Trev, I'd just like to give Tsello a chance, because he's also one of our youngsters on this group, and
he knows all the guys I paddle with there.
So nice to be called a youngster. Morning, everybody. Thank you for sharing, Oscar. Such an inspiring story. And just thank you for joining us today. It's really nice to have you on the platform. What really comes up for me more than any other thing, I'll just relate a very quick story of what happened to me yesterday with my wife. We were about to watch a movie, and it was a South African movie, and as soon as it popped on, the guy that's leading the movie is like a popular comedian, South African comedian. My wife says, when I used to work as a personal trainer, I worked at a gym, and this guy used to gym there by us at Ramsey. He is so arrogant, And now the conversation that then ensues is, what do we do on a day-to-day basis that then determines if we are arrogant or confident? Because he could have been having a bad day that day, but now that notion stays with my wife forever and ever, because she didn't see him after that. So for me, it's really where the key is between confidence and arrogance is, what do we do on a day-to-day basis? Because if we take into account what Muhammad Ali is saying, results are inspiring. Oscar's story is inspiring. So when all is said and done, there will be inspiration, you will be inspiring. But on a day-to-day basis, what do we leave behind as our immediate legacy, I would ask, Because now we are reflecting on this guy. What if he's actually a nice guy and was just having a bad day? And now we are thinking he's actually arrogant. What if he actually is arrogant? Does it really matter to us? Does he have to do us that favor not to be arrogant? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, are we inspiring, and what are we leaving behind? I think that's more my take about ego.
Great, thanks, Tsello. Trev, you were trying to get a word in edgeways there?
Yeah, I'd like Oscar to know that we've also got survivors on this group, and I'd like to introduce him to Ian Johnson. I'd like Ian just to introduce yourself to Oscar, just from your comrades' experience, your running experience, and exactly what you're doing as the PR for the association there. And Oscar will touch on perhaps his cancer treatment, etc. And maybe that's a great way to end off. This guy, Ian Johnson, is perhaps the least arrogant top performer that I know around. And I'd love him to talk about his son.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was like Trevor, I used to plod between Durban and Pietermaritzburg a couple of times. I certainly wouldn't consider myself to have achieved huge things. I think my best claim to fame was I ran a standard marathon at 2 hours 48, which I thought was quite good, but pales into insignificance when one considers what you and many other top sportsmen have achieved. So I'm certainly an average sportsman. However, my son is he was a professional triathlete for many years. He's obviously got 2 kids. He works full time. He trains 80 to 90 triathletes. So he's on top of his game. He's just recently been to Kona. He qualified and competed in Kona. So he's kind of taken over the baton from me, but he's achieved far more. I've also had cancer twice. I've had prostate cancer, I have lung cancer. And as you say, you kind of just got to get out there and keep going. But I certainly don't claim to be anywhere near the standards that yourself and obviously many other sportsmen achieve. So, yeah, I'm on the board of the Prostate Cancer Foundation. That's my other job, my passion. And it's really all for me. It's all about education, awareness of prostate cancer, because it's now, certainly in the UK, more men die of prostate cancer than women die of breast cancer. And that's purely because of lack of early detection and people's unawareness and men's ego, their fear of going to the hospital or going to the doctor once a year and having a checkup. And we don't, as men, talk about these kind of things. And as a result, they get to later stage cancer, prostate cancer. And of course, all you can do is just manage the process. But you've obviously been through a very similar situation, so you understand kind of the importance of getting people to stay healthy, eat healthily, and just go for those regular checkups. So yeah, I'm with you in terms of the cancer. When it comes knocking on the door, you don't want to let in, but unfortunately it says, I'm sorry, here I am, and you've now got to just deal with it.
Yeah, so mine, just in closing, mine was and I was competing, and I had multiple myeloma, which is bone marrow cancer, and just like you, I'm going on the multiple myeloma cancer advisory board just to help them out, because it's one of those diseases that not many people know about, and you have it, and then suddenly, oh, gee, breaking bones, and basically your bones get weak. So I was racing in that race with a tumor on my spine, which was very compromised, was pushing onto my spinal cord. So that's why I was in so much pain, but I didn't worry, I still carried on. But when you get the news that you have bone marrow cancer, and then I said, oh, well, this is, what is it, a week, and I should be battening again, or 2 weeks? No, a month, 2 months. No, this is 1 year of treatment, so I have 1 year. I have chemo every week for another year. But at the end of the day, I equate this, and it's a perfect thing to finish, I equate cancer to this COVID-19. Your life, you think, as it was easy, and then suddenly it just takes away. I mean, I was racing in Tahiti, I was racing all over the world, I had plans and everything like that. Those just stopped immediately. And it's the same thing with this COVID-19. You thought you're going to do this, and this next day you are at home, making do of what's life's given you. And for now, most people, they've given them 4 walls if you haven't got a garden, and you've got to make the best of it. And I think that's where the confidence and the passion comes in, to make every moment count, and not just because you've got cancer. And that's in life, make every moment count, because you never know what's around that corner. So that's what I've done all my life. I mean, if I never cry over spilt milk. I lose the odd race, and I'll just carry on and go again and do it better the next time.
Great, thanks, Oscar, and thanks everyone. Oscar, I think it's been a really special session having you on board this morning. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate your time and your input and your insights and comments. And I think it's given everybody something to aspire to and to think about. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure.
Thank you very much. And I think on that note, we'll end off today's session, and hope to see all of you tomorrow morning. So thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great day. See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.